right, you should be good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. Teresa?
Mayor Don Barnard,
Here.
John Merriman,
Here.
Sharon Hendren,
Here.
Charlie Campbell,
Here.
Paul Shook,
Here.
Bob Orsini, Ryan Green.
Here. I'd like to welcome Father Stephen Smith from the Church of the Ascension to do our invocation tonight.
Let us pray. God, we come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God of love who is with us now in this very room. You never leave us or forsake us. We thank you for making each of us in this room, every person we meet, every citizen of the city, and every city in your image with dignity and worth. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. We thank you tonight, God, for these your servants. We give thanks for their willingness to serve the people of the city of Johnstown. We pray, O Lord, for our police and fire service members, and thank you for their gift of service. We come before you as human beings, desire to fulfill your will in lives. We pray, O Lord, that you open our hearts to respond to your call. Help us, O Lord, to trust you more than our fears, our wounds, or even our accomplishments. We remember Paul the Apostle writing to the Christians in Rome and his teaching that those in authority are first and foremost your servants, that honoring you and doing your will is our highest purpose, that any portion of power we enjoy is given by you for the good of those we are called to serve. We pray that we would have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and how our common good is upheld when we listen and respond to your call. We pray that you may be forever glorified through your power working in each of these your servants. May your truth be revealed, and may your light shine brighter. Please guide each of us with your mighty hand to bring forth your kingdom in this world. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our list tonight, we have the swearing in of, we have two new police officers. Could I have Officer Lopez and Officer Moore? Oh, nice. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
That I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of Johnstown, Ohio,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of Johnstown, Ohio,
to which I am appointed,
to which I am appointed,
and to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
will discharge the duties of this office.
and to discharge the duties of this office.
Congratulations. Did their families want to come up and have pictures?
Yeah, we can do it up here, we can do it back there on the clock.
Let's move on the Johnstown one.
Yeah, if you want to do it.
The logo's here.
There's the logo. Yeah.
If you want.
That's why we've got logos. Hold on. And there goes my bag.
We do it both. You want to do it?
Always a nice thing. It's always a nice thing.
Taylor.
should see, man.
You yelled at first, why I don't know.
My chair for over that year.
Well, we moved them. I thought they were going to put I don't want these in the way. Need to know just a little bit where they came from.
Hey, before you leave, Officer Lopez, Officer Hoare, if you could come up and tell us a little bit about yourselves, let everyone know.
Did he bring a speech?
Officer Lopez, if you want to come first.
Did he bring a speech? His eyes got about this big, dude. It's like, oh,
It wasn't my idea. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
very informal.
Hi, hello, everybody. My name is Mark Lopez, originally from La Mirada, California. So I started my career in law enforcement in Ohio in 1995. So I've been doing this for a little bit. Just left Otterbein University to come to the city of Johnstown. I'm married to my wife, Jessica Lopez, and enjoy going to Florida and going on vacation.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
My name is Josh Ford. I've been in law enforcement for a little over 5 years, almost 6. I was at Shawnee Hills Police Department before then. Love doing this job. I grew up about 10 minutes that way, over right behind Lentz Fruit Farm. So, married to my wife for 3 years, a little over 3 years, and I am also a baseball coach over at Worthington Kilbourne.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
His grandmother was my teacher,
Awesome.
great grandmother.
Thank you, guys. I think it's a great day that we can bring in 2 new police officers to our town. And I think it's only going to help our community, so. Next tonight, we have Director Fitzsimmons from the Grove Licking County to give a presentation.
Thank you. I really am very excited about this opportunity to talk with you guys tonight. I know that several of you are new to the Johnstown City Council, so I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to get to know Grove Licking County as an organization and how we have partnered in the past and how I hope that we can continue to partner into the future. So let me start with a little bit about who Grove Licking County is. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Grove Licking County is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was started in cooperation with 3 founding organizations, which includes the Licking County Chamber of Commerce, the Licking County Commissioners, and the Licking County Newark Heath Port Authority. Those 3 organizations came together 10 years ago, this year actually, so we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary, to form an organization that would move Licking County forward in economic development and prosperity for the benefit of all of its citizens. And so that's really our goal and our purpose, is to bring additional prosperity to our county and to the citizens of our county so that we can continue to thrive as a community. We are a staff of 3 people, so we have myself there, excuse my voice, myself there, Haley Feitner, who is our assistant director, and Reagan Willison, who is our newest addition. She is our marketing and communications manager. All of us are fairly new to the organization, but we are not new to this area, and we are not new to this county. I myself was born and raised here in Licking County. I've been with Grove Licking County since July of 2021, but I was born and raised in Newark. And so it's really my honor to serve the community that raised me in the niche in which I find such joy doing my job in. Haley is also born and raised in Newark, and Reagan is from Muscatine County. She's from Zanesville. So we are all from the Central Ohio region, and we're all very excited to serve this community. One too many. We serve a 15-member board of trustees, our board of directors, several private-public partnership representation here, everything from the City of Heath, City of Tascala, to Licking Memorial Health Systems, City of Newark, Park National Bank, developers like Southgate Corporation, the Licking County Chamber, the Port Authority, all have representation on our board and help guide our activities as an organization. This last year, we had 4 new board members added, which include Mayor Mike Compton, Rob Montagnese from Licking Memorial, Mark Motter from the City of Newark, and Brandon Hess from Shea Hess and Mattingly Foods. We also had several new investors come to us this year and/or reinvest and increase their investments to grow Licking County. And Licking County Foundation was a new investor this year. Park National Bank increased their investment significantly this year, as well as the city of Tascala, Licking County commissioners, and MedBen and Corcoran Global Living, all are new investors and/or increased investors in 2022. Another thing that happened this year for Grow, this is a year of kind of changes and transitions for us or as an organization, is that we moved our location, and we are now located in the administration building and the county building right next to the county commissioners, which is very convenient for us. So, like I said, it's been a year of growth, new staff, new board, new investors, new location, but we still have the same mission. Our mission in Grow is to provide responsive and individualized economic development support that enables businesses to expand and locate in Licking County, and that includes our partnerships with our communities like Johnstown. So how do we make this happen? We do this by supporting our communities in a way that enables retention, expansion, and attraction of businesses in our county, in our communities. That includes focusing on infrastructure, sharing our story as a county and as communities, workforce development, business retention, expansion, and community preparedness. And you can't really underscore any of these more than the other. They're all very, very important aspects of how we make economic development successful in Licking County. So I first want to talk about several of the committees that we have with Grow Licking County that really drive a lot of our work. The first is our infrastructure committee. It's chaired by Jim Roberts, who is an engineer with, it was Hall Associates, and then it became something else. I think it's Verdantis now. It's had several name changes in the past year. But one of the things that, several of the activities that we're doing under the infrastructure committee is focusing on water and sewer infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, and looking forward to what needs we might see that we have as a county for transit, transportation, and water and sewer moving forward as we grow. With the population growth that we're expecting, our growth as a region was on a trajectory that was pretty steep before some of the investments that we've seen in the past 2 years, but that's just been accelerated with catalysts that have come to our county. So the water and sewer infrastructure study is really focusing on, what are our current capacities, where do we need to add capacity based on land use and zoning, what's the likelihood of need moving forward. It's a really important study. American Structure Point is heading that up, and it's a partnership between the County Commissioners, Grow, and LCATS. And we expect a result of that study in early summer. So I'm looking forward to see what the consultant comes back with. And it will result in a GIS mapping system of all the infrastructure that's currently located in Licking County in the ground, and also planned capital investments that are planned for the near future. One of the things that we're exploring currently with the Infrastructure Committee is a revolving infrastructure loan fund, an infrastructure bank. We're exploring ways to fund a revolving loan fund that will help communities connect that gap from projects that would, may have several $100,000 gap, or that they just can't fill or need matching funds for at the local level. And I think that will be a really important thing for some of our smaller communities moving forward. Marketing is a really important piece, and we are really excited to have Reagan Willison on our staff now. She started in September, and she's made a marketable difference. That was a pun. I'm so punny. She has made a marketed difference in our social media and our marketing efforts since she started. It's been very impactful to have her on staff. Sharing our story as a county is super important to make sure that we maintain the momentum and success that we have in the county moving forward. It's not enough just to know that we're doing a good job as a county. Everyone else needs to know we're doing a good job as a county. And that goes for every community in the county. So one of the things that Reagan is focusing on is partnering with our investor marketing individuals or marketing teams to spotlight our investors, spotlight our community partners, spotlight our educational partners through social media, through investor emails, through constant contact outbursts, newsletters, and things like that, to make sure that site selectors are getting that information, to make sure that other Companies are getting that information, whether it be on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're on all of those social media outlets, as well as have a really significant thousands of contacts on our constant contact list that we shoot information out to. We also advertise in Expansion Magazine, which is a site selector type of publication. It's an online publication. It gets a lot of hits from site selectors and in the economic development niche. This industry, economic development as an industry, is a very small community of individuals, of professionals, and so working with and developing relations with site selectors is very important, which leads me to the Site Selectors Guild and other conferences that we go to not only share the Licking County story, the Ohio story, but also to maintain good relationships with site selectors that are working with these companies to make decisions about where they locate, making sure that we are on the map for them, that they know Licking County's name, that they know Central Ohio, and that we are a player in the market. I can't tell you the number of people I've sat next to on planes that say, oh, what's in Ohio? It's a flyover state. What's in Columbus? And you start to talk to them about all the great things that we have in Central Ohio, whether it's Battelle or the Air Force installation, all the different types of great assets we have in Central Ohio. And they're just like, I had no idea. So it's really important to share that story outside of our borders, and have an excellent voice to do that, and that's our goal. Another thing that we did this year, and I'm not going to bore you with the video because I'm sure probably some of you have already seen it, but we partnered with the Licking County Chamber and Explore Licking County to create a marketing video that really highlights what it's like to live, work, and just be a Licking County person. That partnership really produced this really great asset that we have on our websites that you can put on your website. And it's been very, very well received externally and internally within Licking County. It's partnerships like those that make our work successful. Oh, there it is. Have you guys seen this video?
When a house is filled with special moments, it becomes a home. When a job sparks your curiosity, it becomes a career. When a trip takes you someplace unexpected, it becomes an adventure. Choosing a place to live, or work, or visit means choosing a landscape for future possibilities. A place where the quality of life you've dreamed of no longer needs to be imagined. Where opportunities are within reach. From your first day in the classroom to your first day on the job. Where exceptional public schools prepare you for several post-secondary options, including technical training, certificates, and traditional degrees, so you can follow the path that works for you, to start a career you'll love, or build a business of your very own. And this landscape is a place where you can grow, where they can grow, where the excitement of a big city is driven by the community of a small town, where you're close to family, to friends, to the people and the places that inspire you, so you can inspire them. And when you need to get away, an adventure awaits in your own backyard. Whether you prefer 5 stars or all of them. With 1,600 acres of public green space and internationally recognized preservations, there's room for everyone. Live, learn, grow, explore. In Licking County, you don't have to travel far to travel far.
So I won't. I appreciate the patience to watch that, but that was a really important partnership that GROW had with other community organizations that really produced a great marketing asset that everyone can use, including your community. As we move forward, as we look ahead, we're going to continue to increase our engagement on our social media platforms, really drive traffic through social media and LinkedIn and our relationship building. One of the great things that Reagan has helped establish is a blog and that we can push out with good information. The first one was earlier this month, and it was a Women in STEM blog. that focused on women in the STEM field, highlighted several manufacturing companies that have women and female engineers and women that serve in those capacities. And so we're really trying to uplift not just the companies, not just trying to attract businesses, but also the people in Lincoln County. The next, so the marketing committee does all of that work and really focuses that effort. The next thing I want to talk about is Lincoln County Works. Lincoln County Works is a kind of a, I don't want to say an organization of itself, but it's a committee of our board. It's led by Lauren Maskey, who's the adult education director at CTEC. And representation on the board includes COTC, Ohio Means Jobs, New Albany, the Works, the City of New York Heath, Lincoln County Chamber, and Lincoln County Foundation. We partnered this year with Ohio Means Jobs to do a billboard campaign. One of the things that we really struggle with in Lincoln County is that we have more jobs to fill than we have people to fill them. And so strategically, we've placed billboards at the entrances to the county. You may have seen them, focusing on our high trafficked fields of work in Lincoln County: healthcare, logistics and distribution, manufacturing, and IT and business services. Letting people know that we have the jobs here in Lincoln County, and that we want to reverse the flow of people leaving Lincoln County to find work and make that go the other way. We want to increase the number of people that live and work in Lincoln County, and we want to increase the number of people that come to Lincoln County to fill jobs. And so that's the goal of that. We're going to do kind of an evolution of that this year, and we're going to do some radio advertising with some radio stations that have service outside of Lincoln County, so that we can advertise to individuals in other counties to help bring workers to Lincoln County to fill these jobs. I encourage you to check out the Lincoln County Works website. And one of the things that we also have focused on a lot this last year is housing and how it relates to workforce. Housing issues are workforce issues, and we need to identify how we can address those at the local level in communities. And I know that you guys have talked about different housing and zoning changes, things here locally in Johnstown to help facilitate growth in that area. I think that's a really important conversation. I encourage you to continue that. I'm going to skip over the healthcare video. Every time I click on it, it'll go. But the iteration of the healthcare video, we're doing 4 videos that is also kind of an extension of the career pathways and also these billboards. So we're currently working on manufacturing video that interviews individuals who have worked through our career pathways, so our educational institutions, and found success with our employers here locally that have increased their quality of life and allowed them to have a good quality of life here in the county, as well as provide for their families. So the healthcare video is already up and on our website. And then the next one is the manufacturing video, which is in production now. And then we'll also be doing logistics and distribution, business and IT services for the same purposes. And these really will be useful for us to advertise on those social media platforms, as well as put in front of our students, give to our guidance counselors as tools for them to use to educate their student population on what's available here in Lincoln County, because we want to keep those kids here working in Lincoln County. Business retention and expansion is also a really important part of what we do at Grow Lincoln County. Here's the employment inflow and outflow that I had talked about. We want to change the inflow and outflow of people coming in and leaving Lincoln County. 35,000 people travel to Lincoln County for work, but 52,000 people leave. We want to change that. We want to increase that number in the middle, that 28,966 number. We want to increase that number in the middle so that people are living and working here in Lincoln County. Some of the discussion themes that we've seen in our multiple business retention and expansion visits this year are workforce challenges, transit needs, and we've made a lot of referrals to our partners at Ohio Means Jobs, CTEC, and COTC for workforce training. We try to hit all of our major employers every year. We try to work with our communities to identify the companies that they feel are at risk and meet with them put them on our priority list to make sure that those companies are healthy and serving in their communities well. Some of those visits have included here in Johnstown. We met with Tech several times this year. So that's an ongoing program that's really important to the health of the business industry here, and for us to have a good understanding of what's going on with our businesses here in Licking County. So this is the sexy part of my presentation. This is the business attraction part. And I kind of want to break down, I know all of you know the name Intel, and that is obviously a business attraction effort that we are a part of here in the last year and a half. But that's not all we do. We can't just stop at projects like Intel, because those are an anomaly. Those types of projects don't come around very often. And so I kind of like to remove Intel from my conversation about our lead breakdown, the number of leads we respond to, as well as the number of projects we've seen find success here in Licking County, whether it's expansion or attraction. So in the past year, as of the end of October, Licking County has responded to 73 leads. These are leads coming to us from either One Columbus or Jobs Ohio and or other sources. 60% of those leads we've been able to respond to, and we've been able to respond with 75 different submissions. That means that we're submitting multiple properties for each project lead. The breakdown of that those leads that we're seeing come to us are predominantly manufacturing, which I think is great. I'm a huge champion for manufacturing. I love to say that Licking County is where manufacturing meets action. We have a legacy manufacturing, generational manufacturing workforce in Licking County that has given us the opportunity to weather many storms as a county community through recessions and through things like pandemics that other communities have not been able to weather quite so well because of the diversity of manufacturing in our county, as well as the stability that manufacturing provides. And so we continue to see some trends that manufacturing is growing in the United States as well as in our county. And this really illustrates that. 91% of the leads that we're seeing are manufacturing-based leads. Also, we see a lot of logistics and distribution just based on the fact that where we're located regionally, we are an excellent logistics and distribution site here in Licking County. Aetna is a great illustration of that. As well as research and development. We have a lot of assets here in the Central Ohio area that lends itself to excellent research and development activity. The median capital investment on projects is $148 million, and the median number of jobs per project is 390 that we're seeing on project leads. To break it a little farther down for manufacturing, because that was such a big chunk, this is kind of the breakdown of what we're seeing within the manufacturing industry on project leads. So we're seeing food and beverage, automotive, renewable energy, semiconductor, chemical, as well as other, sometimes medical manufacturing as well. A lot of mega projects are out there, a lot of EV, electric vehicle, automotive, battery projects out there. I think one of the big ones we saw this year is obviously the EV facility battery facility that located in Fayette County in the Washington Courthouse area. We are within a doable drive time for suppliers to that plant. So we have already seen activity from suppliers looking at. We had a visit from a Korean company 4 days after they announced that project as a supplier to that facility. So we are well within the range to receive opportunity from that facility as well. Some of the project successes that we've seen in this past year include Kroger. The Tamarack Dairy in Newark announced a $70 million expansion. It's a really important project because it shows that the company is investing in a facility that's over 50 years old. That facility opened in the 60s, and they're continuing to invest in it. And so that shows us that they're committed to our region and serving our region. So that was a really important investment. The next one I'd like to cover is Prudential. They are a Intel supplier that doesn't want to announce that they're an Intel supplier. They do the cleaning and provide the bunny suits, the clean room garments that facilities use like Boeing, Amgen, and Intel. They are a supplier in all the different Intel locations around the country currently. And then Bayer announced a $100 million facility in Heath, Ohio, that will have 90 jobs associated with it. And over the past 24 months, we have, and I wrote this down because I didn't want to get it wrong, in the manufacturing arena, we have had over $700 million outside of Intel, outside of the $20 billion Intel announced in January. We've had $700 million in investment committed and over 700 jobs committed outside of the Intel. So Intel, while it's a great project and I love the opportunity it's going to give our community, we are growing outside of it, and we need to address the growth that we're going to see, not just because of Intel, but because of the marketability of our region and the growth of our region outside of that. And manufacturing is going to be a big part of that. So community preparedness is also a really important piece of what we do at Grillican County. We really work hard to make sure that we're advocating on behalf of our communities and counties. Just this year, I've gone to Washington, D.C. twice to advocate for manufacturing investments in infrastructure, for things like Thornwood Crossing, for 6237, infrastructure needs, all different kinds of needs, trying to bring that forward to our elected officials. In July, I went to Washington, D.C. to advocate for the CHIPS Act being passed. I don't want to claim credit, but 5 days after I left, they passed it. So I feel like I had an impact. I'm just kidding. A lot of great people contributed to the success of getting that CHIPS Act passed, and I think that giving a local voice to it was really important to Licking County. We're working very closely with the framework process. We held a roundtable with Grant Eckler to kind of talk about what legal issues might be faced by some of our communities in the dawn of the growth that we're seeing. And also, we did a elected officials training this year in October. Basically, that's a picture of Carol Johnson up there on the right. She was the trainer for the elected officials training, basically talking to elected officials. What is their role in economic development? How do they contribute to the team effort? What you should do and should not do as an elected official in economic development. So basically, what to say and when not to say, what you shouldn't say. Those are all important things to know to advocate for your community and be a successful member of a team in economic development. So we will continue to provide these assets to our communities as learning opportunities as well as advocacy. As we look ahead, some of the challenges I think we're going to face are the fact that over 50% of our workforce in manufacturing is 45 or older. We really need to address that. We really need to get some of our kids thinking about what it would be like to work in manufacturing and see those opportunities for what they are, very good opportunities. And the other thing is that 26% of our workforce, only 26% of our manufacturing workforce is women. We need to work with our companies to help them identify ways to increase that participation rate within them, whether that's doing a mommy shift, a part-time mommy shift, where that's probably a bad thing to say. It could be a daddy shift, but if you're a stay-at-home dad, but coming in at 9, leaving at 2, so you can get your kids on the bus or to school, and then off the bus or from school. There's a company in Newark called Universal Veneers that has found a lot of success doing that. And so we're bringing those opportunities and those flexibility thoughts to our companies, even in manufacturing, where things can be less flexible, it seems, looking at ways to try and increase that labor participation rate for women in the manufacturing workforce is really important. And again, I'll say housing issues are workforce issues. That's a line that I will say consistently. You'll never hear me not say that. It's a really important thing. We got to make sure that we maintain a good product volume in our market to make sure that the people that don't make $100,000 a year can still find housing. People that work at our manufacturing operations, that work in our retail facilities, that work at lower level jobs have the opportunity to live close with an economical driving distance of where they work. That's really important to maintain our socioeconomic diversity in the county. Looking ahead, I'm almost done. I know you're like, oh my God, when's she gonna stop talking? I warned you, Sean. Looking ahead, automation is going to be a continued thing that we see in our market. Several companies that we've met with this year, we've seen them make investments in automation, taking away kind of some lower level jobs that are repetitive and moving those people to more skilled labor. So we need to make sure our workforce is ready for that. That our entry level workforce is ready for that type of more skilled work. We're going to continue to see the onshoring trend as companies shore up their supply chains and make them more resilient. And we're going to need to invest in our sites and infrastructure continually to make sure that we're ready for the growth that we're seeing. With that, all I need is you to make grow Licking County successful. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
One of the first ones I have, as you know, we're the epicenter of this growth in Licking County now. One of the biggest benefits we could use is someone to help us with grants, to obtain grants. The money that will be coming into Johnstown is in the future. The things we need now are what we need now. Can Licking County Grow help us with grants?
So we don't have an official professional grant writer on staff. However, we are kind of a clearinghouse of information to help support your grant applications. And Haley actually has taken a couple of grant writing courses as well. And that's some training that we're going to continue to invest in to be able to be a better asset. So yes, we can help you. We can't do it for you, but we are a clearinghouse of information and can help you track down what you need. Also write letters of support and other things like that. Anybody else?
No, I think, well, definitely thank you for coming in. I mean, as we get more into this as a council, we'll definitely want to work with you more, and our Economic Development Committee. I think we might have to bring you in and have some conversations there as well.
Yeah, when you guys were still having Economic Development Committee
Yep.
meetings, Haley and I were both involved in those.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we're gonna get back to them, so they'll be coming back.
I have a question. What kind of PR abilities do you have to help smaller cities like ourselves with the PR? Especially somebody like Johnstown who has to, get the message out of what's going on in the community.
So I guess it would be a product of working with our marketing and communications manager, Reagan, to determine what the message is that you want to put out there, and making sure that we are kind of in. We are not in a. Are you talking community development as in messaging to your community? Or to the outside community?
To our community.
Okay. So we really focus on largely the outside audience.
Okay.
But Reagan has a lot of experience in marketing, so she could probably brainstorm some ideas and help as an asset to the community to kind of guide you. She's taken a lot of trainings this year, and she has some experience at a marketing firm in Nashville as well. So she's a brain that you guys can definitely pick and use as an asset. Our entire staff that's what we're here for.
I think we're almost the opposite of what most communities in Licking County are. Most of the communities are wanting to bring the business in, and we do want the business. The business is coming so fast that we have to have help controlling it. And I think that's why she was bringing up the marketing, and for me the grants is because we need the resources to control what's coming so we don't get overloaded.
Community preparedness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a generic question. How do you guys pick your board of directors?
So we did actually have your former city manager on our board until the end of last year when he resigned his position here. So he was a member of our board for the entirety. He was one of the founding board members. The three organizing organizations, so the Licking County Chamber of Commerce, County Commissioners, as well as the Heath Newark Licking County Port Authority, all have appointing powers to our board. So those three organizations choose who our board members are.
Do you have a set number?
15. And that's in our bylaws. So that Mayor Compton was a previous member of our board. They disengaged for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Due to some unfortunate events. But we brought them back last year, so he's now a board member again. And we had some vacancies due to elections where they didn't represent the communities that we work with as investors anymore. So, That's where some of our new board members from. The City of Newark was a new board member. They had never been on our board before this year. And Rob Montagnese from Logan County Logan Memorial Health Systems was new this year as well. And he was a chamber appointee. But I will say, all of our board meetings are public. I encourage you to attend. They're very informative. I do say so myself.
When are they?
They are the second Monday of every month. I can send Sean to distribute we just approved our meeting schedule for 2023. But we also have every other month on our non-board meeting months, we have our committee meetings. And those committees really do the brunt of our work at Licking County. So our infrastructure committee, our marketing committee, our Licking County Works committee, those are all great committees for you guys to either be involved in or participate in. And you are more than welcome. Those are also all public, and you are more than welcome to come to any of those meetings anytime you like.
Okay. Anybody else with questions? Well, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
having
very
me.
much.
Thanks for entertaining my 40-minute long presentation.
That's my about it here. Tonight.
Okay, next on the agenda is action on minutes. Are there any questions on the November 1st, 2022 minutes?
No. I'll make a motion to pass them as written.
I'll second.
Thank you. Charlie Campbell,
Yes.
Nicole Shook,
Yes.
John Merriman,
Yes.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Karen Hendricks.
Yes.
Thank you guys for that. We received a correspondence from a Miss Karen Hottinger, not sure if I'm saying her name right, from Alexandria. She wrote, "I would like to thank the police officer who stopped me yesterday, Monday, November 14th, while I was traveling south on Route 37 from Johnstown, returning to my home in Alexandria. She didn't see the flashing lights in the school zone. Come to find out that our Chief Smart was the one who pulled her over. She said he did not give her a ticket, he gave her a warning, but that she wanted to see that this officer is commended for his service he provides to the community and his professionalism in dealing with its citizens. So I just wanted to thank Officer Smart, or Chief Smart, for his professionalism. And it's nice to get a letter like this. It's, to me, it's a very nice thing to live into a community where you go into restaurants or establishments and they talk very openly about how much they love your police officers. I was at Ridgeview Apartments yesterday for a meeting with their citizens, and they could not stop talking about Officer Fife and how much they love her, how much attention she gives to them, helps them. So it's nice that people recognize our police officers. So. The next item is citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. Do we have anybody who wants to come up and speak tonight? Nobody. Okay. We will move to council committee reports. The first is planning and zoning. They met on November 22nd. The next is 12/7 at 6:30 in the council chambers. Ryan, would you like to highlight anything from this?
Yeah, lively meeting. Met with Chase Bank to approve their variance. Talked about signage and trees there. Went ahead and approved that. Kept Redwood on the table. Have we heard anything new on that?
I talked to Jake Shields just the beginning of this week or the end of last week. My days all run together anymore. Nothing really new. They had a lot of questions as far as what they could or couldn't do on the property. And I said specifically what it's currently zoned, and that's what they can do. If they want to do something else, obviously it has to come before the board, and then you all can give the recommendation to council, and then council will ultimately have the final say. So,
All right.
What was the variance for Chase?
they want to, I'll let Ryan take it.
So they were changing around their trees. They also had their signage. They wanted more signage. we decided to give it to them.
What about their entrance?
That wasn't part of it, no. So there was an Airbnb conditionally approved. And our next meeting is on the 7th. We'll talk about our future goals, and possibly talk about some signage. And that's it for zoning.
I'm determined, sorry for that meeting. I know it's
Oh.
changing from 6:30.
Yeah, it'll be changing from 6:30, potentially to 4:30. I don't know if we've heard back from everybody yet.
Not yet.
No. Okay. We'll have to check in on that. I would be in favor of 4:30. It sounds like what we need.
Agree that
Yeah, I think we have 3, so we can go ahead with that.
4:30.
Yep.
Design Review Board will meet on December 13th at 5 PM in council chambers. Safety and Service, they met tonight. The next meeting is January 3rd. Mr. Merriman, would you like to give anything about tonight's meeting?
We had a very eventful agenda where we talked a lot about roads. We did want to bring a recommendation to council. Did you outline it? Because I don't want to misread the section.
Is this on the parking, the Leafy Dell? What you talking about?
Nope.
Oh, the light?
Yeah. Scratching A and B.
Yeah. It was really,
A and B.
A and B, we
Section
did.
33144 of our codified ordinances prohibits left turns, and one of those left turns is making a left turn from Bigelow Drive onto the US 62, and then no left turn for vehicles going westbound on 62. You know how you can't turn into
Onto Bigelow.
Bigelow.
But now there's a turn lane.
So since the turn lane has been put in, the committee recommends away with the no left turn from 62 and letting people turn there on Bigelow Drive.
A and B. So then A would be also turning from Bigelow onto 62, which the sign has been down for roughly 3 weeks without incident thus far. So tabled one thing, but other than that, that was our only recommendation for council tonight.
Does council need to vote on that, or does it just go through?
Mm-hmm.
Since it's an ordinance, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll need a motion on that?
Mm-hmm.
And then are we waiving the emergency since it is an ordinance? Do we have to procedurally do this a little bit different?
Yes.
Wait,
Or do we just want to add it next week?
I can add it next week. I
Okay.
can just bring an ordinance next week. It's not an emergency.
Nope.
Okay. Very good. Anything else? Okay. Finance has met numerous times. We met on 11/29, and then we had a very short meeting tonight to move the budget forward. Our next meeting is January 17th. We will be talking more about the budget here in a little bit, so I won't highlight that right now. Parks and Rec, their next meeting is to be decided,
Actually, it was set for January 16th at 4 o'clock.
January 16th at 4 o'clock.
Oh, that's fine.
Parks and Rec.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's in my notes.
I know. I remember. It was-
Okay. Tree Commission met 11/22/22. Their next meeting will be sometime in 2023. They will be looking for 2 new members for the Tree Commission. Events Committee met, or his next meeting is 12/8 at 5:30 at the admin conference room. And the Rules Committee met 11/16. Next to be decided, we'll need to get with Bob on when that one will be.
Making any rules?
Do what?
Aren't you on that? You're on rules committee?
That's me, Donnie,
No,
and Bob.
no, I'm
Are
not.
you done, Bob?
Yeah.
You guys making any rules?
No, not yet.
Not yet, but
Not yet. We've got some.
we'll come up with some good rules.
We've got some ideas on the rules, and we're trying to get everything together, so. They're mostly designed for you, so,
I love it.
I think they target me and you a lot.
yeah. So that one will be decided probably sometime in January. Next is director reports for water, sewer, and street. Mr. Liggett.
Yes, I'm gonna hit the highlights on the water sewer street, and then also you'll see in your packet, the surface report, which will bring you up to date on all the projects that are currently being, run. So we'll start with the water report. As of November 30th, for the month of November, we processed about 18.5 million gallons. Licensed operators went through about 12 hours of training. The aquifer test was completed at the well field, and so we now have low service pump number 1 back in service, which is a good thing because we had to take it out of service for the test. And the last thing I really want to point out here is we have completed our lead mapping for the Ohio EPA, and that has been submitted for their review. I'm going to move on now to the sewer department. Again, just hitting the highlights. All of our removals, such as BODs, ammonias, and solids, are all at the 99% removal rate, which is very good. We processed about 443,000 gallons of sludge. So that equipment is working well. And then these pictures below just show you the regular maintenance. We use UV disinfection to disinfect the water before it goes to the stream. UV period is done. You don't do that through the winter. So here's just a picture of guys removing the bulbs and getting them ready for storage. Jumping into the street department. Again, these guys are the jack of all trades. They touch a little bit here and there. We're continuing changing over the lights to LED as they go out on their own versus a mass project. I do want you to make you aware it's a little late in the season, but we are continuing street sweeping, and we will continue our weekly street sweeping until we get snow and ice. At that point, it just is hard on the brushes, the machine, it doesn't work. So we are continuing. They also did some hot patching on Pratt and Track and some work at the water plant. We had a pretty sizable service line leak at 314 Mandrick, which was repaired. And I think that is pretty much the highlights for the 3 departments. I've got some things to tie in a little bit. So I'm going to go to the service director report. Item number 1 is a water tower update. Punch list has been formulated and given to the contractor. The tower is built and ready to be filled. The problem we're having is delivery of the controls to turn the pumps off and on when the tower is full. The new date of delivery of the controls is now December 15th. We went from September to mid-November to the end of November, and now delivery December 15th. And just for clarity, that does not mean that's when it will be turned on. That's when we're supposed to take delivery on the controls to be installed. But once we have those, we'll be ready to fill and put that tower into operation. The next item I want to talk about is the water plant expansion. Jacobs and myself are working on finalizing the equipment, the types of equipment we're going to put into the plant. By that I mean we need to have lime sludge handling equipment. So that was a base put in there. Now we are defining what type of equipment, whether it's a belt press, whether it's a fan press, screw press, how we're going to handle the sludge. So that equipment is being finalized. We're also having regular meetings with the EPA to keep them up to date with what we're doing so we can get the construction approvals when we are ready. They'll be up to date and hopefully cut some time off. Also working with Bowen, who is our CMR, on equipment ordering and scheduling and construction schedules. So we are front loading all this work so the plant can move along quicker. Item number 3, the aquifer study. That was mentioned in the water report. The pump test at J1 is completed. J1 is the pump that's in the upper aquifer. So the pump test is done. The operational pump is back in. Egan and Associates are to submit the report this week. At least that's our plan, so we know what the findings of that pump test are. On to item number 4, wastewater plant upgrade. the stream study is completed and has been completed for a couple weeks. I'm trying to push to get that report sooner, but they're still saying into February, 1st of March. We have to hold off on the type of design until we know what our permit levels will be to put the purified waste back into Raccoon Creek. And we are also continuing looking into the newer technology of the Aqua Nerita. It's a different system than what we currently have. That would allow us on-site, on current space, instead of expanding to just 2.4 million gallons, this new technology, if we approve it, and like what we see, on-site without adding any property, we could go to 4.1 million gallons on the current site. So that would be a tremendous savings if this new technology works out for us and is at a price that we can take care of. Number 5, the Rolling Meadows project. This is the ARPA project, which is the lining of the sewers to a little over 50% of the Rolling Meadows project. All the sewer line cleaning in the area we're working has been done. The camera work has been done, and we're very happy to say there's only one point repair where we're actually going to have to do digging and repair the line, that the liner will not just fix the problem. We were anticipating maybe up to 5 or 6 of those, so this is good news. So with this being done, I would say within the next 2 weeks, we're hoping that lining of those sewers will begin. East Jersey project. Well, that project's been a little bit of a trying situation as we dug down to make the taps, because as we're lowering different sections of that road, taking some of the hump out of the road and getting so the houses drain towards the road, we have sections where the road actually drains in towards yards. We are running into some elevation problems with the lowering of the water main, because we have old water mains and gas lines that are at those elevations. But tremendous amount of work last week, and in the field redesign work. Things are going well now. We've got the 12-on-12 tap done and the 12-on-6 tap completed, so there's only one more tap to make, but we are getting the gravity lines where they can stay where they have to, and the water lines which can vary up and down but have to maintain a minimum bury depth of 4 feet. We're getting that done. So we're moving along on that. And then the Poldy housing development. I've sent both water, sewer, I said both, all 3, water, sewer, and street crews out. They've got a majority of their houses built. Each department has done a walkthrough and created a punch list of things we see that are problems that need to be repaired as they begin to close in on completing that project. Those have been submitted to CT Engineering to be forwarded to Pulte so they can start on those repairs now. Because I could see in the near future where they would say to us, we want you to take part of our roads that have been completed where the houses are done and turn those over to the city. So before that request comes, I'm not going to say again, because we have that request in the past, I want to make sure these punch lists in those areas are taken care of. So at this point, any questions I can answer on any of the departments or the service director report?
Anybody? I've got a couple, but I got a comment first. I've highlighted, or I've talked to council members before, if you ever get a chance to do a ride-along with the police. I will also say, if you ever get a chance, get a tour of the water plant and the sewer plant. These reports will make a lot more sense when you actually get to see how things are done and how they work. It's really neat to see it. My first question is, on your street report, you talk about the street doing water maintenance, doing 314 Manderick, hauling of sewer sludge. Do those, now that I'm intimately involved in the budget, I don't remember seeing any street people's pay going to sewer or water, and should they if they're working for sewer and water?
Well, I'll bring it up this way, and we can handle it as you want to. We've always blocked it off because if one department needed help from the other, we didn't say 10 hours goes to here, and then in return, those hours be returned. However, once every 2 to 3 months, we haul sludge to a field. We have the sewer plant employees do that. but also if there's a street department individual available, they help with that. You know, so let's say 6 hours out of 1 week, they did maybe work at the water department. In the past, we said we don't track that because then in turn, if a water department employee needed to go help the street department, or they needed to mow a park, because due to rain, got behind on mowing, and Tim Perry was available, we would have him go help mow the park. So that's kind of how we balance that. But if you would like a different type of tracking, we can do that. Now, as far as line repairs, we've always used, the street department removes the line, water department employees repair the line, then the street department fixes the road or patches. You know, that's kind of split up.
So do we have any street employees like working at the water and sewer on a routine basis or anything like that?
Mike Kane is a street department employee who works the Saturday morning shift at the water department. So that is a 10-hour shift. He works 1 day a week.
Okay, my second question is, in preparing the budget for the debt portion, the Jersey Street project went all to the general fund. But in seeing here in your service director report, you talk about water taps, water main realignment. Should some of that debt for the Jersey Street then go to water and sewer? Should they get a portion of it?
It can if you so desire. Previous council, we've not done that. It usually goes into the Ohio Public Works, and then, you know, you split up how much is grant, how much is no interest loan, and then the bulk of the expense is usually road and road repair. But if you want that broken out, that obviously can happen.
Can we get a estimate on how much is attributable to sewer and water?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay. And that's all questions I had.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I want to thank you for the wreaths. I saw the guys out there putting up the wreaths. They look nice.
Yep, and that's what we're talking about. You know, some of the water and sewer guys are out
Yeah.
helping with the streets, which is a straight street department.
They do look nice, though.
So they float back and forth, but yes, they look very nice. I thought it looked good when it was lit up.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack, for your reports.
Yes, sir.
Next is city manager report.
All right, some of the stuff is duplicated from last time, more of an update, so I'm not gonna roll through everything, especially the ones that don't have any real new updates. And some of these we're gonna be talking about a little bit later, so some of the highlight reels. Number 14, MKSK Comprehensive Planning. Obviously, some of you had interviews last week. Thought those went really well, and they are super excited to hear the feedback that they got from each and every one of you. We still got 2 council members that we've got to get
Yourself and Bob,
in front
yes.
of them. And we'll reschedule those and get you guys in front of them. But the other part, and I put it in bold, first public meeting will be held December 14th at 6 o'clock here at the city offices. So just want to highlight that. So if you have any HOAs or just in random discussions that people are having questions about, you know, what's the planning effort that's happening, this is going to be that first public engagement. So we've obviously posted it on our website and our Facebook page to
What
kind
about
of
on
get the
our
message out there.
light up sign out there?
Ah,
Oh, that's a good idea.
good idea, Mr. Merriman.
You're sitting at that light forever, you might want to get a little reading, you know what I mean?
True. So that can be done. Let's see. Like I said, some of these we're gonna get into a little bit greater detail later on, so I'm not gonna hit too much of them now. Integrity, just so you're aware, their contract ended in October. I did reach out to them. We probably need to get some kind of contract discussion.
I did speak to her today. She called me today.
Okay.
And she says they were very open to go until June of next year, so.
Perfect. Then we'll
Extended that, so.
get something drafted and over to you all for your approval. Let's see. Personnel Board of Review, just so you're aware, we would like to, if you so desire, to have these interviews at the next council meeting to get this board fully seated. Currently, it doesn't have any members, and we've got a lot of, I think, Dave Reap in office here, so he'll speak to this a little bit more specifically later on. We've got a personnel handbook. There's a change now that we're a city, civil service, and all that good jazzy stuff. I'll let him speak intelligently about that. But we do need to have this board up in place so that they can go through this document and then make a recommendation to
How many
council.
applicants are there?
I think we
What's
have
that?
5 now.
Yep. So
This
I
was
would
on my
like-
list to ask about, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I would like to have those interviews next week, and then if all possible, if you feel comfortable after interviewing those individuals, putting 3 of those people on that board, that would be wonderful. That way we could get some things done. We've had numerous questions about our current employee handbook, and changing some of those things, and also policies that could be in place, and all that kind of starts with that board of review. So that's one I wanted to highlight. Another one, zoning. You'll be seeing GCC revisions, maybe at the next meeting, but hopefully in the near future. One that we'll talk a little bit more in depth about tonight will be that light manufacturing. Just a secondary look at that and see what you want me to do. Honestly, everything else, we covered a lot of this stuff in the meeting at Safety and Service. So if you have any questions, feel free to fire away. If not, I will not go through some of these.
What did you guys decide on the Bigelow traffic light?
Sean is going to engage Pulte and ask them about some of the funding. Is the easiest answer for that.
Okay.
Really, the only one that I want to cover on for like 1 second, and I'm sure you don't have an answer yet, is did we reach out to anybody about our funding for our 2 work projects?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's it.
I did pull that email up today, and it went like in my head for a second and then right out the other side. But no, I was thinking of you whenever I saw that email. So a lot of that information came through, I think, Bailey. And I was specifically looking for some of these Joe Simonello projects, and I came across that one and immediately thought of you all. First, I've got to get my hands on that document because I am very interested in the report. We want to identify what these funds can be used for. We have these grants that were given, the 250,000 and the 150,000. I think it would be wise of us to get some specifics, what it can and can't be used for, timelines and things like that, so.
Well, and in addition to what they can and can't be used for, how?
Right.
Right, if it was to acquire land, what is the process? If it is to use it for whatever, any other thing that we decided, how? What we need, what it entails.
Absolutely.
Any questions for Sean? Okay, we can move forward with tabled legislation, ordinance 1720-2020, or 2022, an ordinance adopting wage and salary structures for the city of Johnstown. It was tabled September 27th, and I'd like to continue to have it tabled until the beginning of the year, when after our budget goes through. Public hearings of legislation. The first is Resolution 2022-40, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Licking County Board of Commissioners for reimbursement of legal counsel for indigent defendants for the city of Johnstown, Licking County, Ohio. This is an annual contract that we enter in. It runs from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. And it is a normal contract we enter into every year, correct?
Yep, and you really don't have a choice.
Yeah, we don't. The Ohio Public Defender's Office requires it. It's something that's passed by the commissioners also. And we have to have it on file with the Licking County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Nicole Shook,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes.
Charlie Campbell.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The first, sorry.
We didn't do a public hearing on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We did not.
Does anybody have any comments on that? Ahead of ourselves.
No.
That was it.
No one wants to comment on the refunding of the indigent? Okay, we'll move forward. Public hearings of legislation, resolution 2022-40, or I'm sorry, that's, the next one is ordinance 23-2022, An ordinance amending ordinance 4721, the annual appropriations ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations and declaring an emergency. So first, we need to discuss it first, correct?
Either way.
Okay, so I'll kind of cover this. It's a very long one. With Integrity going through our books, they found some errors, found some things of funds not transferred. To make this very easy for everyone is when we appropriate money at the beginning of the year, if we need to add additional money, so say like legal costs, we need to add legal costs, we need to reappropriate money for that. This is one large appropriation, canceling a couple appropriations in there that we had authorized earlier in the year. One to the Budget Stabilization Fund. Basically, our finances are very tight right now. We're trying to move funds around to get the money to be able to pay all the bills that we need to before the end of the year, in the summary. Did you want to add anything to that, Sean?
Yeah, summarized it pretty well. A lot of it's housekeeping, cleanup of some ordinances that were previously passed that may not have been completely necessary. And then, as Donnie mentioned, as things come up throughout the year and we have to re-identify funds to be repositioned into different buckets, this is a little bit of that cleanup. I think next year we're anticipating having less of these types of ordinances to reappropriate. We can say that now, hopefully, and then we'll prove ourselves wrong. But yeah, I think just trying to do some house cleaning.
Zoe at Integrity spent probably a week trying to go through all of these and make sure, it's basically a big puzzle piece that they're trying to fit in, and trying to figure out the funds. So I thank her for getting this together, and I think at the end of this year, we'll be in a much better place knowing where all our funds are. So the reason it's an emergency is that I talked to Integrity today. They need the funds moved very soon so they can pay bills that aren't appropriated yet, that are due. So that is why it's an emergency, because I need these done as soon as possible, so.
So let's make a motion to pass an emergency and get rid of the second reading.
Okay, do I have
I'll second.
second?
John made a motion, and then
Sharon.
Sharon to pass as an emergency.
John Merriman,
Yes.
John Barnard,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes.
Charlie Campbell,
Yes.
Nicole Shook.
Yes.
Public hearing.
I'm not gonna have any public comment on this ordinance. Any questions?
Anyone?
Okay, can I have a motion to move this ordinance?
Discussion and then move.
Or any discussion? Okay, now can I have someone move that?
I'll make a motion to pass as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes.
Charlie Campbell,
Yes.
Nicole Shook,
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. This one, that motion is very, or that ordinance is very important in getting our books cleaned up into where they need to be going into 2023.
Technically, you're not allowed to spend the money, which was why she needed to do it as an emergency unless the funds are in the account. You've got bills to pay, and this happens towards the end of the year. As those funds start to be exhausted, you have to start looking at other funds that may have had a carryover, and move those monies appropriately, so that's why the emergency.
Okay, now the big one. Introduction of legislation. This is ordinance 22-2022. An ordinance to approve expenses and other expenditures of the city of Johnstown, Licking County, state of Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. So this is our budget for 2023, what we've been working on for the last several months. Can I explain some of the things in here? So the first sheet you will see is the projected available funds. I'm going to say this as delicately as I can. The city is very tight financially. Our debt level is extremely high. We have an ordinance on the books that will pay 28% from our general fund to pay our general fund debt. This year it is almost 33%, which takes a big bite out of our general fund. When we set the budget, and then when we had to transfer those funds, we were in a hole of almost $700,000, so there's some cuts were had to be made.
It's 31.9.
Do what?
Did it go up again? I thought it was 31.9,
32%, sorry.
30.9, 30.9, 31.
31%. So as you see, our general fund, our anticipated revenues for this year are $3.4 million. We have carryover of $128,000. That's carryover from this year. Something Integrity brought to our attention is when you have a carryover, you like to have 2 or 3 months carryover to pay for bills for the next 2 or 3 months before all our funds start coming in. We are not to that level at this point. So our available funds for the year to begin the year at 3.6, and our appropriations this year at 3.5. So going into next year, our carryover balance will be $30,000 in our general fund, which is not much. In looking at raises, which no one wants to hear this kind of thing, but in general, it was a 2.5% raise. It ranged employees, but most got about 2.5. I said the general fund debt is at 31%, 30.9 to be exact. We lost our finance director this year, and it was almost a blessing in the fact that it forced the finance committee to dig into numbers. When you have a finance director, it doesn't allow the finance committee to actually dig into the numbers, to look at every dollar spent. And I think we got a better look at how our money's spent, where it's at, stuff like that. So that's the highlight on that. Do I have any questions on the budget at this point, from what I've said?
No, I would say we don't have a long turnaround time on it, so read diligently.
We have till the 15th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we
We don't
will,
have a lot of turnover.
we'll be bringing this up again next week. A couple of things I want you to be made aware of. The general fund is working in a hole this year. The street department, without funds transferred from the general fund, work in a hole. And our water operating and sewer operating are not supporting themselves at this point. And we're looking into that. If it's mostly debt, whatever it is, but the water operating and sewer operating are something that caught our attention, that we thought they were making money, and they're not at this point. Part of our ordinance is that our water rates go up automatically 5% each year, and that's what we have in the budget right now. It may change between now and next week, that we have to go to a higher rate, say 8 or 9% increase in our water bills, to help offset some of the loss that we're taking in water and sewer.
Which we would caveat the statement, don't look at the percentage, do the math on your water bill, because it equivalates to like $12 a year. So 8% sounds high, and then when you really look at the number, it's not an earth shattering,
It's
If I
not,
could,
right. 8% doesn't mean anything.
So
Right.
for
That's
my
just-
a lot
house,
of
when I
people hear
have,
percents and you know what I mean?
Yeah, percents make you scared, but it's not
Exactly.
what it is.
where I have 4 people living in my house, my bill's closer to 100, and Charlie's water bill's closer to $34 or
Right.
$40.
This is mine.
The 8% is a lot different between us, but it's still, for me, it's
Yeah.
$8
Right.
a month. So even though the 8% seems like a big number, we need it. But Sean, go
and
ahead.
if I could qualify some of those statements that Donnie had mentioned in regards to our water and sewer rates, I'm gonna be working diligently over the next week and maybe have some projections punched in, hopefully for you to review at the next council meeting. So there is a possibility that some of these numbers will change. Obviously, Donnie had mentioned that we are eating into the carryover, and that's where I want to identify and see if I can get to a nice number where we're not doing that. And then also the mayor had mentioned that 5% increase that was passed years ago. It happens on an annual basis. The other part of that I want to qualify, we've had an incredible amount of increase in operating cost. So some of this increase in expenses is in direct relation to the things that everyone is experiencing at their house. The cost of goods, the cost of gas, the cost of materials, the cost of labor, all of those things have risen over the last 2 to 3 years, which has obviously made it an apparent effect on the operating expense that we need to provide the service of that water and sewer. So this is something that's now hitting home for all of the residents here because of the inflation that you've seen nationally. It has come to rest at this point, and we have to do the same thing that everybody else is doing in order to be able to provide those services.
So a couple other highlights I want to make you aware of, because I want to be very open and transparent with this budget, is our healthcare rates went up 15% this year. As you know, the city of Johnstown pays all healthcare costs for our employees. That is something that the Finance Committee will be looking at beginning in January for future years. But for 2023, Johnstown is paying the healthcare costs. The other item I want you to be aware of is, please do not take my word for it with these numbers. Go through these numbers, question anything, everything. I want any question you have so we can look at, make corrections to, so that we have a budget going forward that's a good budget. But we are trying to fix things now so that in future years, our residents don't have to worry about. I'd like to see an ordinance go in that we cap how much debt we can take on, so that we never get in a point where we have a council that takes on too much debt, and then we become so cash strapped that we can't pay our police officers, our street, and things like that. So that's something I'd like to look into in the future, is can we create an ordinance so, kind of like at home, you don't want to take too much credit card debt because then you can't pay your other bills. So that's one thing that I'd like us to look into in the future, so.
Absolutely.
There are some definite ones in here that if you really read through it, you might have questions on. I know that Donnie and I have, when going through this, Donnie and Bob and I numerous times had conversations about, well, this is like the mayor's court, there's a computer fund. If you look through your line items, you're gonna have a mayor's court computer and then a mayor's court computer fund. One's 6,000, one's 2,000. One brings us in $6,000, one costs us 2,000. So they're labeled very similarly, so if you're not really diligently reading, they'll catch you off guard. They'll say, these numbers don't line up, and then you have to realize that they're not the same, so. There are a couple like that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We would love to be proven wrong on some of these numbers.
Yes,
So
please.
If you can find anything incorrect, good news wise, any bad news, just keep that to yourself. Good news wise, if you can identify anything that we have missed, we 100% welcome the conversation so that we can sleep a little bit easier
Yeah,
at night.
if you're trying to move positive decimal points to the left, keep it to yourself. If you're moving them to the right, please, by all means, let's stop.
One of the things we have is called a budget stabilization fund. It has about 351,000. I think, Sharon, at one point it was over 500,000. There was money that came in, it was over 500,000. We've eaten into that in years. Our goal at the beginning of this year was to fund it $60,000 to try to build it back up. We're not going to even touch it this year. We're not funding it, and we're hoping to God not pulling money out of it. We tried to account for every possible thing that we could find out there for budget-wise, so that we can account for it now instead of something coming up in the year, so. So we need to take no action on it tonight.
No,
correct?
it's just a reading.
So it's just initial reading. If anyone has questions, please contact me, and I will try to work through it with you as best as possible.
I'll say we've spent, what, at least 2 months on this? There's been 2 accounting firms. We've had a government accountant, and Donnie working on it.
Yeah.
A lot of questionable things in the beginning, how processes were done in the past. I think it was great as city council that we got to take such a good look at this. When you're looking at line items that cap off at what the line item was and start pulling money out of somewhere else. A lot of things to look at. So I would tell everybody, take a look at this. And in the future, like Donnie said, we're gonna have to watch some of our practices and principles and stick to those to make sure that we don't have the situation we've had in the last couple of years.
Okay. We have no questions, any public questions. We will move on to other business. Does anyone have any other business for tonight? If not, I have a couple things. Charlie, Nicole, you guys have anything for other business? Sure. Okay. So a couple weeks ago, an individual came in talking about food truck legislation. It was actually Ray Ray's. Sean and Teresa are overwhelmed with their normal duties. I asked them if I could help them with this and start researching it. So I've done a lot of research on food truck legislation. I've learned more about food truck legislation than you ever want to know. Anyways, one of the things with food truck legislation is most cities in Ohio, in the United States, to be frank, have tried to limit food trucks in their community. They've done this to protect brick and mortar establishments. The number one thing on that is there was a Harvard business study that found that food trucks did not impact brick and mortar businesses because most of the time they're vastly different. There's a study out there if you want to go out and read it. The second thing, and the most concerning to me, is that the courts, specifically in Ohio, have been ruling against cities on their food truck legislation because they are too restrictive. And they've been siding with food trucks and then thus forcing cities to update the food truck legislation. I don't want us to do anything tonight, but I had a couple thoughts that I wanted to share with you and at least get your thoughts on. Maybe we can change our legislation, or if you guys want to keep it the way you want to keep it, but just know that we may be forced in the future to change it. I had a long meeting with Tiff Hollis at Dashing Diner because she was one of the individuals that helped create the food truck legislation for us a few years ago with Ben Lee. And I was very surprised that she thought that we should change our food truck legislation. She doesn't feel that food trucks are a detriment to them or a competition to them, because if you look at our mom and pop restaurants here in town, they are sit-down establishments. The person who wants to go to a food truck is not going to sit down. It's like carry out. They just want to grab the food and go. Where the people who want to go to Dashing Diner or the Johnstown Family Restaurant or the Mexican restaurant want to go sit and socialize and spend time with their family. In working with her, she suggested at least 3 to 4 days a week, 8 hours a day, moving the food trucks to zoning, to a specific zoning area of GCC2, which the majority of GCC2 is on that side of town, near your fast food restaurants, and I believe there's a small portion out on this side of town, if I remember right. Doing just a temporary basis to see how it works, say like 6 months to see how it works. Limiting the permits to 3 or 5 permits for those 6 months so that we're not overloaded with food trucks. Just to see how they do. Borrow them from public property except during special circumstances. So if we have festivals, they're allowed, but that we don't allow them on our property. That would be on private property. To make sure that Johnstown would have a city food truck permit, a fire marshal inspection, require a fire marshal inspection. That's something, the only cities that do all of these is the city of Columbus. A health inspection license, and also force them to have a criminal background investigation. We don't want food trucks coming in that are shady. We want reputable businesses coming to town. And also 100 feet from a current food establishment. We don't want them parked right next to McDonald's or Wendy's, but give them 100 foot of space. Those were the suggestions I came up with legislation, but I want to hear from you if you guys want to move forward with something like this or you want to keep what we have.
I am definitely against it. I talked to Tiffany about it also, but I think we should bring all the restaurant owners in first and get their idea, because they're the ones paying rent. They've got the high bills to pay, and food truck, I don't know how many food trucks you're talking about. I've been in charge of food trucks for all of our events. How much are we charging them to come?
Well, that's what we can talk about.
Okay.
We can, I think if they're going to come to Johnstown,
But I
we should
do
make it
think we
valuable.
should check with the other restaurant owners, get their ideas. I'd hate to, and I think a bunch of food trucks around all the time looks crappy. I really do, but that's my thought.
So like Horseshoe and
Ghost Rider, the other restaurant, what's the name
Fiesta
of
Del
it?
Rio.
Fiesta Del Rio.
And that new one, well, it's not new. They
Johnstown
just,
Dragon.
Restaurant.
McDonald's, Wendy's,
When you look at that Wendy's, I see what, I probably know what Donnie's gonna say, but when you look at that Wendy's, it is a local chain owned.
So is the
you do have a
McDonald's.
semi-local owner.
So is the McDonald's.
Yeah.
They're all.
They are, but they're a national brand.
It's true.
I'm more concerned, personally, I'm more concerned with the local.
I am too,
Right.
with the locals, yes, and I agree with that.
Okay. Ryan, your thoughts?
I'm open for more debate. I'm always open for more debate on any issue. Hash out a good plan and see
Yeah.
where we end up. But I'm not in a hurry to do it because I agree that it's not a massive benefit to the community. So if we could tweak it to where it is a benefit to the community, maybe I'd be in favor. But I'd want to see how it plays out. I want to see the local business feedback. I know we're in a unique situation where we're less than 10 restaurants. So if anybody opens up, if you open up a sandwich stand on your driveway, you're all of a sudden eating into local business because there's just not a lot of them. So I want to make sure that we're not hurting local business before we do anything, because the nature of these businesses is transient. They're here today, gone tomorrow.
That's right.
Well, and that's why we want to make it a little bit more expensive to come to Johnstown, so they want to stay in Johnstown and not move around every day. Was my thought on that, is we don't want to make us super cheap where, oh, we're just going to come here, hit it one day and leave.
This is what I'll say. I think that everybody should do a little bit of research. We can come with a plethora of other areas, pull it together, wait till after the first of the year. I think we gotta get through the budget,
Right.
which is gonna be intense. I think we have a lot of other issues at hand, and then I think we can come back and look at it. But I do think it's something that may need updated.
And if we have, case law that we can analyze, if we have empirical data we can analyze on this, I'd be all for taking a look at that. But it's going to be hard because I would guarantee most of the studies done on food trucks are in, semi-larger cities, Columbus,
No, they're actually small.
Dallas. Do we
Small
have
county.
any that have 5,000 that they bothered to do?
I don't know I don't think it was that small.
I was going to say, because most of them you're probably talking
I think it's
50,000
I
plus.
think it's Westerville right now only has temporary is doing a study on it.
The other thing I will ask you to do is talk to citizens about this. Going to that Ridgeview Apartments, is it Ridgeview Apartments, Ridgeview Manor? Behind CVS. People are begging for more food establishments. That was their number one question. Is this restaurant coming? Is this restaurant coming? It was 30 minutes of the conversation. I heard this restaurant's coming. They want more food choices. So, Nicole, what are your thoughts?
Well, considering that I've been in the restaurant industry for 35 years,
We don't care about your opinion.
yeah, well,
We'll go to Charlie.
whatever. You asked, you're gonna listen. So,
Nicole.
basically, right now, the cost to build a restaurant, the cost to even build out an existing structure it's incredibly, it's so much right now. I mean, it's because of inflation, supply chain issues, it's all just incredible amount of money. Toppled with Johnstown being a bedroom community, it is. We leave here to go to work. We don't stay here. So a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 business for restaurants to invest in this community, a brick and mortar, that's a hard sell right now. We don't have the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday business. We don't have it. And that is so imperative to a restaurant, period. They need that walk-in traffic. So I would say that John, I'll go back to John here where he would say, let's look at this hard at the beginning of the year. But, looking at a 6-month ordinance or something temporary to bring some of these trucks in so that people do have a choice as well. It doesn't have to be a permanent solution, but, how do we know, maybe some of this attraction would some of this would be attracted some bigger restaurants to come out here on a brick and mortar basis when it becomes affordable to do that but right now the build out in a restaurant, there are 2 reasons. Build out a restaurant right now is incredibly expensive, and secondly, we just don't have the 8 to 5 traffic for a brick and mortar.
Could you ballpark what one of your trucks cost?
Well,
You could do a
just
do a
ballpark
rough.
it.
rough, very rough. So a used truck that needs lots of cleanup starts at 50 to 60,000. Brand new, you're looking anywhere from 150 to $200,000 from scratch.
Okay.
But she's not paying taxes in town.
But she's having the thought I had with doing it on private property is they are having to pay someone else to rent that space. So like for them, they're at the old Coghlan, so they have to pay Terry Henson rent.
Not pay enough rent to be in his building.
So that was my thought on private property. So you get the revenue going to a local person
Restaurant's
who then has to pay taxes.
fully equipped.
Right.
Just for comparison's sake, with parking.
I do know the guy out on Duncan Plains, he hasn't done well with his.
Well, and
He's been
that's
there.
that's part of my fear is nothing's
they're
going to
going for-
stop
He hasn't
the
done
I was in restaurants
the
forever, too,
nothing
like-
stopped the JYAA from bringing in a bunch of food trucks
But you know what I'm saying,
and
like,
bringing them in money. They're sitting on that side of the property. We're not getting any money then.
you don't need an 8 to 5
We're not getting any
business
tax
for a
revenue,
restaurant.
whereas
In fact, the ones that do
if
are
it's
8 to 5 are
inside our
successful
border.
for a reason.
And
Dinner
if the
service
food
is
trucks
always
show up
gonna
and
be
don't
money.
make any money,
The what?
Dinner service.
They're
is
not
always
gonna come back.
money
Right.
maker. It's
And
harder
then we
to
don't
make
have to
money at
worry about
breakfast
it
than it is at dinner. Lunch
That-
than it is at dinner.
If I can have a question,
Okay, well,
in regards to,
I
you brought up
understand that,
taxes,
but
Sharon.
only if you have a liquor license,
The
you
question
don't.
I have for Ray Ray's, technically, whenever a business does do operations, whether it be construction, painting, food trailers, food trucks, whatever that may be, the payroll that happens in that municipal corporation limits, do you guys actually take that out and then submit that to the city? Because that's what's, by right.
They're required.
That's what is required. Now,
Yep.
obviously, it's a much harder ask if it's a transient type of business. So we're relying a little bit on good faith, but I would like to put some kind of standard out there from a food truck industry that,
We pay payroll company to do that.
okay,
Your problem is it's just like any construction company
Oh,
that
for
comes to
sure.
town. If it's a small mom and pop construction company, they may not even pay payroll
Right.
tax, but you have to catch them.
oh, absolutely, that's one of the negatives that I would put out there with any business, not just food truck, that we run into.
Charlie, what are your thoughts?
They serve a lot of, food trucks can serve a lot of different venues that, we call it brick and mortar, but just somebody's store can't do. They can offer you a lot of different foods, which I think is a great choice. One of my concerns would be how many trucks are you going to allow into Johnstown at one time? So if you have 10, if you say, well, we're going to limit it to 5 permits, all right? So once those permits are taken, then, you know, are you going to put them in a geographical area? I mean, we said GCC2, so they are going to congregate right there. Or are we going to allow them to go to the JY, Johnstown Youth Group? Or are we going to allow them to go and serve certain, like for instance, if you have a race in town, a foot race, do you want to have a food truck at the end? We have food truck day here, okay? And it is very well attended.
We can't.
I mean, very well.
JYO, we can't do anything about it.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
can stop them.
food trucks
Food trucks,
do
you wanna-
have a place in our community. It's just a matter of how many and where, you know, really. And that's exactly what it amounts to. And to give them an opportunity to come and show some of their wares besides food truck day, I think it's a good thing to do. Give them a 6-month trial, but we gotta come up with a permit thing. I can tell you personally from Columbus Fire that when you bring your truck, you have to go to the Columbus Fire Department. You have to get our permit because your stuff has to be safe. And they have a checkoff list. And if it's not, you don't get one and you don't dare because they will haul your truck away. All right?
That's part of my thought process on this, is with the 4 licensing requirements, if there's cost associated with each of them.
There is.
For them to come here, and I know you said Columbus is like 150 or 300. You know, if we put a substantial cost, say $300 for certain things, it's going to stop some smaller food trucks from wanting to come in here and just try it out because of the upfront cost. It also is going to turn them off having to pay rent versus using a public space. So I was trying to, when you're trying to come up with something like this that works for everyone, and that was my goal. So do you guys, I mean, I know Charlie and Nicole both mentioned that they'd like to see this move, or like this. The others said no. Is it something we want to do a moratorium on right now, or just keep it the way it is right
I'm
now?
not a no on it. I want to.
No, I think that there's a larger discussion. Like, you have to
I think what we have on the books right now keeps them out enough. I think it prohibits enough business. I mean, we haven't been overrun in the 3 years since we've had that ordinance come in. So we haven't had an issue. I think we have time to debate this.
I don't think that it's boycotting food trucks in the city. I think that it's
Right.
coming up with a happy median for everybody. Especially like if you do, what wouldn't be fair is if you do a limited permit status, right? You allow 5, which makes all the sense in the world. who gets the 5? How do you choose it? Is it a
Well,
lottery?
yes, there's a lottery in many cities. They do lotteries.
Right.
They do.
I mean, I
where
think
you
it's,
apply.
I think it's very equitable because you're trying to find out what's gonna go in this town and where it's gonna be. You know, maybe we will open it for 10, maybe we'll open it for 20, who knows? But that's the one thing, but we're really restrictive now,
Oh, 100%.
very restrictive. And so, I don't know what a happy medium is, but in order for us to try it, you can't be as restrictive as we are. All right, if you want to try it, I mean, I'm in favor of trying to see how it's going to fit into our community. All right, if you have a good truck service, it'll really make our community okay. If you got some crappy ones, and of course that's going to end up being the same way. You know, I don't know how you find that out, but one way you find it out is giving them a chance. Okay.
Yeah, I would also, just for the thought process, I don't, where you put them is always an interesting conversation. Mine was necessarily the opposite of what your thought was. I think that you put them in municipal areas. It's very much more easily regulated by the community. Just, if you sit out here, we can go and check and see what you did or didn't do. Right? It's like an easy reminder.
Enforcement's gonna be trouble
Enforcement's gonna
for
be
us
super
because
hard.
a
We
lot
don't
of
have
our
the staff to
enforcement
do
is
it.
already a problem.
Well, it's interesting because someone in this room's not going to like it. I can't remember the community, but they leave it to their chief of police to do the enforcement in this. To ensure that the licenses are up to date, that they've had the inspections. They leave it to that person to enforce it.
You gotta check if they're robbing
Do
her
you
in the
know if New
fryer.
Albany does it at all?
I'm sorry.
Does New Albany do it at all outside of events?
So
I was trying to look, I was trying to
we
read
don't
theirs.
have any food truck laws, on the book. They said they're open to talk about it, so, they're, in a similar position.
Yeah, I've noticed, I was thinking about that, and I think I've seen them at events.
They-
Farmers market, right?
The amphitheater.
Yes.
They do allow that,
But outside of that, you see them in Columbus over there.
having a permanent setup is a new discussion for them. And may I say something else too? As far as the way food trucks look, some of them do look junky. Grove City, part of their process is you have to give them schematics and pictures of your actual rig and, they have to approve it.
That's a good idea.
You can't
Design
roll up
review.
and
Yeah.
take the
legal?
air out of the tires
Sean,
and-
submit the design review.
We'd have to ask Yaz about that one.
Design
I
review.
still think we should check with all the other
I will.
restaurants.
The
I'll be-
ambiguity of
And if you'd
If you'd like to
sign
come with me,
gets you in trouble.
I'll schedule meetings with them.
I don't like your
The
sign.
second thing I wanted to say
Why don't you like my sign?
is,
Then you gotta explain it.
a lot of restaurants,
I don't like your color.
instead of,
Why?
investing
Explain
in
it.
a catering truck, they are investing in food trucks now, because it's a similar cost, and, it's more viable for them to be able to cater and do events with a food truck than a catering truck.
Schmitz is a prime example.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Oh, Smith's is
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah, they have.
Yeah.
That truck is a lot of places.
Mobile
Yeah,
kitchen.
they've got like 100 years of doing on-site stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to kick this can down the road too much. So I'd like us next week when we meet to look at if we want to enact a stay when Bob gets here, that we can talk about if we want to enact a stay for 3 months and move forward, or if we want to and try out just 1 or 2 trucks during that time period or what. So I want us to think about it over the next week and then come back with thoughts on it and allow you to do your research on it. So. Does anybody else have anything for other business?
For other business, since we're looking at bringing new things in, this is something we talked about, and it's kind of seems like a legacy project at this point, but bringing in the DORA program.
I think you should read the staffing requirements for it, and then we can talk about
Yes,
it.
that's one thing when I talked
I
to
think we've talked about this like 6 times this meeting.
Tiff Hollis, is that something they would like to?
Yeah.
But in doing research, there's a lot of other requirements, and we need to lay out those requirements before we can.
You have to ask
to move
Jack over
forward.
here if he can get us some extra city workers to do our trash mitigation plan for it and staff them to mitigate the trash. In addition to that, you have to talk to Rusty over here about staffing extra police officers during your DORA hours. Just, these are,
Really?
there's,
It's
you can
big.
get the packet.
It's
like,
huge.
It's
It's,
big. Not
There's
that
a
I
lot
don't think
to
that
it,
it's a
but
good idea.
there's a lot to it, but I think it's worth taking a look at.
I think
to
it'd
see
be
if we
worth
can
it.
bring
Yeah, it's worth
in.
taking a look at, but
Yeah.
it is incredibly,
Yeah.
draining.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've talked about Adora for a long time. I'm all for the Adora. That's
Yeah, it's not new. It's been talked about for a while.
And then again,
The
where
other
is your-
thing is,
where
what
are
do
you
we have
walking
downtown?
from?
Do we have enough bars and restaurants downtown?
If they were in the Muni Park.
Do they migrate over to Kroger?
If they were in the Muni Park.
You know, something like that. But with the festivals and things that we have downtown, I think it's worth a look at.
And we, maybe me and you can get together and start
Yep,
looking
I
at
think
that.
we could do that.
I think Western Girls were doing theirs right.
Anybody else on other business for tonight?
Money. Money could be an investment.
Okay, we have executive session for tonight, multiple executive sessions.
Yeah.
4 days. I don't see.
Do I need to read these, Teresa?
I don't see.
I'll ask Dave real quick. These are two separate executive sessions. You're attending the first one. Should they come back to regular session?
Oh, I know.
Should they come back to regular session and then move to going to the second one?
Trucks as well.
So the motion should include both right now.
Okay, I need to make a motion that we move to executive session, discuss pending and imminent court actions, and also to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee.
Hey, Donnie, can I mention something on that?
Yes.
I want to make sure we stay on point, okay?
Yes.
In our last executive sessions, we've kind of gone a little bit here and there, and in executive session, we're supposed to stay on point.
Yeah, and Sean actually has an agenda for the item, so we stay on it tonight.
That's fine.
Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Well, I thought, Donnie, you made the motion.
Oh, did you make the motion?
I just said, do I have a motion to, and I read it, so.
Okay.
But we can count me as a motion if you want.
There you go.
Whichever.
Come on, Nicole.
Aiden.
I didn't mess that up.
And it'll be with members of
Donnie did.
council.
The first one is members of council, Sean and Dave, and then the second one is just members of council.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Charlie Campbell.
Yes.
Nicole Shook.
Yes.
John Merriman. Peter Varner.
Yes. Thank you guys for coming tonight.
Oh, it's always correct too. You can go to the jail.
You want a 5-minute?
5-minute